Okay, so hello and welcome back to another Unity video on my channel. In this one, I'm going to be doing a kind of overview of my game and the different mechanics in it, but from the actual point of view of the editor and the code, so that people who have been following along my project can see a bit of behind the scenes. Obviously, I'm not going to show every single script and how it all works and everything, but I'll go through most things. Probably spend about 15 minutes on it. I was going to do a tutorial video tonight, but I've not been very well this weekend, and now I decided, yeah, I was well enough to go back to school today. I did go in, but I felt awful, and I'm still going to keep going in, but I don't want to get behind with work, but yeah, I'm a bit off, so I definitely don't have the effort to like do a proper recorded tutorial and teach anything right now. But one first thing you might notice if you kind of neat freak like me is this hell is off-centered, but that's fine. It's meant to be like that. I'll show you in a second. The actual, if you cover up the L there, it is centered. So basically, the first thing you notice is you press play, and it does the whole intro animation I made with a menu. I had pretty much quite a bit of fun with that. Don't know why it's taking forever to actually play. Never mind, there we go. I think it's because the window wasn't focused. So it does, yeah, blah, blah, blah. The animator does that, whatever, and then that falls out. There we go, it's centered. Okay, so that's that. Now, there's a bit more going on than you might think with this. So I have, okay, one thing is, as I'm making my game, whenever I make something, it usually just gets to the point where it works and isn't necessarily the most efficient, and I always go back over and fix it. So I have these manager scripts, which are, by the way, if any of you watching, like, have any ideas to, like, any suggestions to make stuff more efficient or whatever, or, like, improving parts, feel free to point out, because I do want to go over and just, like, you know, upgrade it all almost. But basically inside the UI manager, which is just, it sits on the manager object, and it holds, it's just always in the scene, and it holds most of the UI stuff. So, you know, it stores all the stuff through the hood and the hover pop-up, which is, I'll go into everything, but it stores all the stuff at the top, and then there's plenty of functions here to do with the UI. So, obviously, yeah, starts, does the whole setting an instance for the static class so that I can reference it from anywhere. This handles the player's mana, because obviously the player's mana gets increases every frame, and this is just the mana orb UI. Then we also check, this is where we also check the pausing, so you know, if they've pressed pause, then can we pause in this state, if we can, whatever. So I'll talk through each part one by one. So when I press play and it's doing the whole load up, it's also doing some other things. The first thing it's doing is it's checking, is there a save file? If there is a save file, then this continue button will be activated, and it will be white just like the rest, and it will be clickable. But as you see at the moment, it isn't. So if there's no save file, it will set it like this. Obviously you can't continue if there's no save file. If I press new game, go play, save the game, come back, that'll be ready, and I'll show that in a minute. So the settings doesn't actually have anything on it yet, but it's there ready, and a new game starts. So yeah, it checks the save file whether it exists or not. So if I go to %app data %, and that I searched on Bing for some reason, %app data %. Okay. If I go to locallo, Dapper hell, yeah, there's no game save file. These are just the two that are default there. I'll keep that open for later. So that works. When you press new game, most games, what happens is when you press, you know, create a new game, it's like, are you sure you wish to create a new game? And then, you know, you're going to overwrite your old save file. And I want the game to be kind of more jokey almost. Like, I want it to be one of those, you know, break the fourth wall kind of jokes of you, the game's self-aware kind of things. So rather than just having the standard window pop up, you know, are you sure you're going to overwrite your data? I make the player, they still have to know that they're starting a new game to do it, but I did it in a different way. So you press a new game. Obviously, this is only ever going to happen the one time when you create a new game anyway, so it's not going to get tedious. It is kind of for me every time I have to spam click it when I when I'm testing, but it's fine. So, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I am sure. Why the button basically changes text every time when you click on it until it gets to like 5 or 6 clicks. By the time you've clicked on the new game button 5 or 6 times, you know, the game's pretty certain you want to overwrite your save file, and you're fine to do so. So that's just a funny way of doing it, I guess. Obviously, I could change what these say. So I say one last time, and then I'll be seeing you around. Obviously, it's a bit slow. There's still stuff I need to change. Like, I need to make it so the scene doesn't fade out. The black thing doesn't fade out until everything's loaded in. Otherwise, it just looks a bit silly when it pops in, which isn't nice. So let me just open the inventory so I can kind of pause almost. So yeah, when I actually pause the game, here we go. We set the pause menu active. set the timescale to 0, so the game basically pauses, like all the physics stops and just everything stops. We unlock the cursor, so the cursor lock mode is none, so it's unlocked. Then it's also visible, because it's invisible normally, because it's an FPS. Well, not a first-person shooter, but a first-person game. Before pause, yeah, so I have my own game state manager I've made, which basically stores all the different states in the game as scriptable objects, so I make them. So, like, for example, there's one for being in the inventory, one for being in dialogue, one for being on the pause menu, and it's got loads of booleans, and each boolean is, can I attack, can I jump, can I move, whatever, and I can change what the player is allowed to do in those different states, and it's so helpful. So I can basically be like, on the menu, they can only unpause, for example, so they can do all the menu stuff and unpause. Then when they're just running around normally, they can do anything. When they're in dialogue, they can't move, they can't look, and so on. So I can kind of limit what they can do at certain times, and it's very helpful. It's probably one of the best ideas I came up with. I know I didn't invent it, but it's just really good. And then game states 1 is pause. I should probably make a way so I don't have to put 1. I could put I should have a enum for the different things so that I don't have to just remember what numbers are what. That's a good idea. Obviously, as I'm going through this, I'll talk about my improvement ideas that I have got, just haven't done yet, because obviously there's lots to do, so I have to do one thing at a time. Then I also make sure when I unpause, if either the inventory is open or the spellbook's open when I'm unpausing, don't lock the cursor. Leave it unlocked, because obviously they're still using the inventory or the spellbook, so we want them to be able to use it with the cursor still. So that's all good. It's got some functions for toggling settings, so when I press the settings button and whatever for that's all just UI updating. Then when I start a new game, so we have a switch, and we also just have a value, which is, new game clicks. It just starts off as 0, and I'm going to click, and it's going to say, are you sure? Then it's going to increase it by 1. Really, yeah, this is just the thing that I was on about earlier with the, when I'm starting the game. Then when I've done it this time, as well as saying, I'll see you around, it then hides the cursor, starts a new scene, deletes a save file. These are all functions I made. Starts a new game, hides. The reason why I have the inventory and the spellbook panel actually active at the start is so that the code, some other code I have can actually access it. Because if a game object is set to if active is false, basically, if they're deactivated, you can't then get component off them because they're not active, so it doesn't count. If you get the component then disable them, then it's fine. But that's why I have them active at the start and disable them as soon as the game starts. And obviously, every time I click, then it increases that. So that's just the way to make the start work, and it works pretty well. So I think I'm happy with that. So for continuing the game, what do I have this boolean for? See, some of the things I've done on here, I've kind of forgot. Okay, yeah. So the reason I set this to true is because I want to know when I'm loading the scene, if I'm continuing the game and not starting a new one, I then want to spawn the player into a particular place rather than so yeah, that's right. When the player spawns in, they load their position and rotation so that they obviously spawn where they saved the game. But if they're starting a new game, they're just going to spawn wherever the start is of the game. Yep. So with this loading the scene, it basically waits until it's loaded the scene and then it just pops it in. The problem is, at the moment, the fade out starts as soon as it can, and it doesn't wait for everything to load in. So that's why you start seeing stuff popping in when the fade's going out. So that's on my list of stuff to do. I mean, here's my actual list of stuff to do. It's a big list. That's all the stuff I've done, and this is stuff I've got to do that's fresh in my mind. There's more than this to do, obviously, in the game, but this is just the kind of stuff I need to do within the next week or so. Make the bow animation only start if I have arrows. There we go. Yeah, there's a problem where if I'm dragging an item in my inventory and then I close the inventory while I'm dragging it, it'll bug it out. So there's plenty of things to fix and improve, but that's what I'll get around to doing. So that's all that done on the UI manager. Now you press start and you spawn in. So first of all, obviously, the player's hands, I've got that in now. If you've been watching recently, I've got the player's hands in. Got an idle animation going. Stuff I can do, I can scroll and the scroll wheel thing moves. I can use numbers to jump to them as well, so that works. 1 to 9 to 0. B for inventory, escape for pause. If I pause and then no, sorry, if I got my inventory open and I press escape, it doesn't actually pause. It just closes that and then goes to the pause menu. The reason why when I press escape to do it, the cursor is active is just because it's in the editor. If I had compiled the game, the cursor wouldn't be active now. So that's just an editor thing. It's fine. Alright, so yeah, I've got the inventory. I can press E to pick up an item. I'll go into the code of some of this stuff, don't worry. So E to pick up, small health potion. There it is. I can move it around. As you notice, one little thing which I need to kind of do is the player's hands, the animation, kind of like the animator resets when whenever I do something with the inventory hotbar. That is meant to happen. I should change that, but yeah, it's something I've just been working on right now. Yeah, also if you drag an item outside the inventory, it drops that item. And if it's a stack, so this is 10 arrows, and just to prove that it's 10, I can take the bow. I can shoot the bow. Oh, I have to actually put the arrows on the hotbar. That's something I'm going to change as well. At the moment, it just does a quick check of the hotbar to make sure I've got arrows on it. If I have, I shoot. I'm going to change that. So yeah, so I can shoot. Badoom. Obviously, I need to put like an arrow on the bow for it to actually like work or like look good, but it works physically. Now I shot like 2 arrows there, so if I drop these, you see it drops 8 basic arrows there, so it does keep a note of how many are in the stack, which is nice. Obviously put health potions on it, so if I right click a health potion in my inventory, it uses it, which I'm already on full health for. If I put the health potion on my bar, I can also like left click it when I go onto it, so I can be like health potion. There's no animation yet, but I physically hold the item, as you see. Go onto that health potion, go onto that health potion. So that works. I can kind of scroll between the things, like so. I drop the arrows, so yeah, that's gone. The sword, I actually, because I've just redone the like hands and animation holding stuff, I haven't made a sword animation yet. Like I haven't remade it, so it doesn't actually work. So there's that. This is a save manager, so if I press save game saved, yep. And now if I actually stop the game, go to the file as on about, we've got game_save, and I'm actually going to remake this. I'm going to do it all in one file, just in this game save file. It's going to, all the things are going to be here, and they're just going to be the names of the files, and all the data is going to be completely jumbled. It's going to be like encrypted, just even though it's a single player game, so it's not as important, because anyway, you can still go change the files, but if I encrypt it, people can't just go and like cheat. Now, yes, if they're cheating, they're only cheating themselves, so it doesn't really matter. But I want to, just implement that as a thing anyway. I think it'd be quite interesting, quite fun to learn some more about actually doing encryption in coding rather than just theory about it at school. Be quite good for the project. Because obviously at the moment, someone could go to their inventory slot 4, for example, where they have their sword, and they could just copy and paste the code from inventory slot 4 into all the other inventory slots, and then they have swords in all their inventory slots. So it'd be a bit silly. But now, if I open the game, if I press play, we'll see it does the check at the start on the UI manager. Do I actually have the check on here? I wonder. So void awake. Check for save file. Here we go. Bool is save file. It runs a function in my game save manager, which I can show you. And it returns true or false. True if there is, false if there isn't. So, if there's a save file, the button's true, and that's its color. And if it's false, it's that color. Makes sense. So look, here we go, it's true. Press continue. I don't know if it fully works. It should, maybe. Yeah, it works. The only negative is it doesn't save the state of the scene where like everything's loaded or not. So obviously I can just go pick up more bows and arrows. So that's like a mini exploit almost, but hey, it's fine. I will obviously change that too, don't worry. That works. XP orb comes towards me. Arrows fall to the floor. Fire blast. Obviously there's no enemies now, but oh yeah, I was kind of in the middle of working on it. Yep, that's not really how it's meant to work, don't worry. I will fix that. I kind of forgot about that because my priority at the moment isn't the spell tree. I think the earth tree works. Whoops, I moved my camera a bit too fast there. My bad. Woo, smash. Now there's no enemies for it to go for, so it just kind of goes and falls. But yeah, it works. What else is there I can show? Arcane missiles, obviously, the enemy isn't here, but I can still fire them off. Still gonna change that quite a bit, but it works. Obviously, as I said, there's a lot to change, but I'm also just getting through a lot anyway. I haven't actually got these spells to show you. I've just put the icons in. So yeah, I'll just show some more code for the rest of the video now that I've shown you basically what's working at the moment, which is quite a bit of stuff that's working. As you see, this actually sticks into things as well, which is quite interesting. If you see anything in this video you want me to do a tutorial on, I will, though, like a proper tutorial on. The only problem is, like, I won't show it the exact way I did it because it'd be quite hard to, because I've built it around all the other systems that already exist. So yeah, and also because this game's my own project, I don't want to just like teach people how to make a copy of my own game, because that, you know, I do want to like keep this as my own thing at the same time. It's understandable, I hope. But let's get some look into some of the code that I want to show. So let's say hotbar handler. What have I got here? I've been editing that recently. Actually, that code's a mess, to be honest. I'll show a quick thing. So ignoring, I mean, you can look what I actually have up here if you want. So it's just yeah, here we go. So when you scroll on the hotbar or you press number keys, you need to know which key does what. Now, by default, you could use a simpler method and saying, you know, if you press the 0 key, it goes to index 0 in the list. The problem is, keyboard layouts for numbers are not that. They're not 0 to 9. They're actually 1 to 9 to 0, as you see here. So I just made a list of key codes, and alpha 1 is like number 1 on your keyboard, number 2, number 3. So I've got it. So index 0 in this list is alpha 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So that lays it out just like a keyboard, basically. Then we basically say, you know, if we press left click, we're going to... yeah, if we press left click and we're not over UI, we want to use the actual item that we've currently got equipped. So basically, if we click anywhere in the middle of our screen, if we're actually in the inventory at the time, we don't want to use it with left click from here anyway. So if we can scroll hotbar, which is one of those game state manager things, what it does is this scroll value float, it gets to every frame, and it's 0 if we're not scrolling the mouse wheel, and it becomes 1 if we scroll forward, and -1 if we scroll back. It might not be 1 and -1, it'll be just a positive and a negative value. So if it's positive, if it's greater than 0, we say, you know, the hotbar slot is currently, what it is now plus 1. Well, no, sorry, we're saying, is the next one above it 10, which would be outside the list. Set it to 0. So obviously, if we're going to go off the end, we want to go back to the start so we can keep scrolling through. Otherwise, then we can just add 1. And then obviously here, if it's less than 0, is the one before it -1. Because obviously 0 in a list is the bottom one. So if -1 is the value, then we'll just set it to 9, which is at the end. So that works fine. Then we're going to say... yeah, for everything in the list, for that, basically for that amount, if that one, if input.get key down, key goes, oh yeah, sorry, this is for the, took me a second to remember what it was for. This is for actually pressing the keys. So if we, sorry, if we press a key like key 7 and we're on index 4 or something, we'll go to that slot instead. So this is the scroll way of doing it, and this is the keyboard press. So you want to be able to do both. Then this, I'm not even going to go through this. This is just a mess for doing the whole equipping items, placing it in the hands, getting it the right rotation, setting up the animator. That's just effort. What else is interesting? I guess the spellbook manager. I don't know really. Nah, that doesn't really do much. What does quite a bit that you might want to see? Yeah, the notification thing. Okay, so you know when I press save game, I'll go show you in case you don't know. I guess I'll just show this and maybe one more thing for the video. It's getting quite long already, but you know, I hope a lot of people are interested in this game and want to, you know, see more in-depth stuff into it. So, you know, I'll show this video. So if we go into a new game and blah blah blah, we've done some stuff and we save. When I save, you see this little pop-up at the top? I'll also show the red pop-up at the bottom. So 5, 4. I've put a save cooldown so that we can't spam it. There we go, game saved. It pops up and it waits and it fades. Now the actual bit where it pops in and fades out, that's just in the animator, so I'm sure you can do that. But the actual, oh, that's just code to store the layout. What is the notification handler? So what it does is we can call a function on it, add new notification. Okay, we call a function and we pass in a string and a sprite, which is the sprite and the string on the icon. On the notification, sorry. And what it does is it basically, we've got a boolean stored whether there is a notification up or not. So we're going to say, if there's no notification currently, we want to set it to true. We want to make it, like instantiate the game object notification thing in that place on the screen. And then we want to set the icon and the sprite to the string, sorry. And then we'll start this coroutine. And then obviously, if there is a notification, we're going to start this other coroutine. So the first one, when there's no current notification, it'll wait 5 seconds. So obviously it's already made it, so it's going to wait 5 seconds. Then at the end of those 5 seconds, it's going to set it to false, saying, nope, we've not got a notification anymore, and we're going to destroy the game object. So basically, yeah, we're going to fade out. Well, the actual animation is what makes it go away, but this is what physically destroys it in the scene. Because obviously it could shrink in the animator, but it's not actually destroyed. Then wait for space, this one that gets called when we add one, but we've already got one up, is this here. It's in a coroutine, so it can actually pause itself. It's basically pausing execution until its notification is false. As soon as it's false, we're going to run this function again. Now, let's say we have 2 things waiting for space. It doesn't really matter, just whichever one gets through first. Only one can get through. Like, even though they'll both go at the same time, as you know with code, nothing can be executed at the exact same time. Like, something has to happen first. So whichever one kind of gets through first gets added, and then the other one's still in this wait loop. Wait until. So this is a thing that's really useful. I don't know if you've seen it before. So instead of yield return to wait for seconds, where it pauses it for 5 seconds, you can yield return to wait until, and then you put something like until a variable is 10 or until this boolean is false or something, and as soon as it becomes false, it then continues, but it waits basically until it's not while it's not that. Sorry. So that's quite useful for the notification pop-ups. So there's only one at a time. And the actual last thing is the error handle manager. So basically, it's the same system almost. We have a coroutine in here, and pass in a string, which is just the error kind of text at the bottom that comes up in red when, for example, you cast a spell with no mana, or you cast a spell with the cooldown's not ready. You try and fire the bow with no arrows, etc. Basically, anything that you can't do, and you want to give the player kind of like feedback, but you don't want to like blurt like something big on the screen saying, you can't do that. You just want to have like a nice little thing saying, nope, you can't do that right now. Just so they know the game's not broken, they know it's actually just not available right now. And because it's a useful message, they'll hopefully know why, and it'll, they'll be like, oh yeah, the spell's on cooldown, silly me. So it just sets the text of the thing, and it basically, what this is doing is it's changing I, and we're setting the actual alpha value. So the RGB is just whatever. We're setting the alpha value to I in this for loop, which basically means that, well, because this isn't a enumerator, so it goes over time, it's fine. I will be the alpha, and since I is decreasing down to 0, it fades out because it's got a full alpha all the way down to 0, which is helpful. Because obviously I starts off as 1, which is full opacity. Like you see it completely, it's completely opaque. And it slowly fades out till it's 0, basically. As soon as it gets below 0 or at 0, it then stops. So, that's that. Now, this video is getting on really long. I could even make a part 2 to this. If people want to see a part 2, then sure, I can keep showing more stuff about it. But as I said, if you want tutorials on how to make mechanics in the game that I've already made, that I'm working on right now, then sure. And obviously, as I say, if you like these videos, then subscribe, stay up to date with what I'm doing. I keep making these update videos maybe once or twice a week as I'm making progress in the game. Obviously, I'm at the stage where it's making not tedious things, but just we're not at the fun part yet. We're still making all the mechanics and systems work. But as soon as we got past this, we've got good groundwork to make all the quests in the actual world and stuff, and cool magic spells and particle effects and all the fun stuff. So I will, I can't wait to do that. So I'll just keep working on it, and I hope you guys like seeing the update videos. And I've heard some people are inspired to work on their own projects because of it, so it's quite nice to hear that. But yeah, this video is running on, and I really just want to get it uploaded and rest my throat. So yeah, I'm sorry about not having any tutorials over the weekend. I've just not been well. But I hope you understand, and maybe in the next day or two I'll be well enough to do actual tutorials and have the energy to teach, I guess. But yeah, thanks for just doing with this video if you've stayed this long. But yeah, all I can ask now is, obviously if you haven't already, then please like and subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and goodbye.